What's up, sobers? It's the 4th of July, 2024. We're at Corlears Hook Park in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Over 200 people are barbecuing in this park for 4th of July, celebrating, ready for fireworks, getting excited, celebrating the birth of our nation. When suddenly, 4 people are going to end up dead. All thanks to one man and his relapse.
Responding officers who did arrive on the scene did smell some alcohol.
2 women and 1 man died.
How much did you have to drink?
And she has a son at home with no mother and no brother. Took 2/3 of family in one shot.
It's roughly 6 p.m. People are gathering, have some drinks, celebrate 4th of July. A man is caught on video, Daniel Hyden, getting into a physical altercation with security guards at the entrance getting into the club. Allegedly, he's reported to have been too drunk to enter the club, so they kept him from going in, saying he was too drunk, tried to keep him out, and a physical altercation broke out.
He's done. He's gonna fall in the water. He's gonna fall in the water.
On est rentré dans un truc d'Amérique profonde. Attends, mais on est vraiment avec les Américains. Le capitaine, il a vraiment parti. Mais c'est des malades aussi, c'est des gens. Mais lui, je sais pas, il s'est brûlé.
Where'd he go? Oh, he's sitting there.
As you can see on this video here, pretty serious physical violence, pretty serious fight, and this is all happening about 3 hours prior to 4 people ending up dead.
Eux, ils montent, mais c'est des malades. Ça leur fait leur
He's getting back on.
Put his head down, that's it.
Oh my God.
Now, it's not clear how much he had to drink or where he was drinking prior to that, or even if he was drunk. You can see in the video he is left sitting on the stoop of these steps. I'm not quite sure why police weren't called. I'm not sure why the physical altercation wasn't enough to warrant police activity. However, they just left him. They let him do his own thing and didn't allow him to come into the bar or the club or whatever it was he was trying to get into. From here, we're not exactly sure where he went or what he did, but we can safely assume that he probably went out and continued drinking. And that is what ended up leading to the events that occurred at about 8:52 p.m. at July 4th evening. Now, the man in this video is 44-year-old Daniel Hyden. He's a substance abuse counselor, and he has also written a book about addiction called The Sober Addict.
Here in one of my favorite spots in NYC to unbox and look at for the first time the print paperback version of my first book, The Sober Addict. You must know that this book is like one of my children, but instead of taking 9 months to create, it took me 4 years to write. It's beautiful. This book is about the duality of addiction. What that basically means is that anyone who has a disease of addiction, they have 2 parts: who they are and their addict identity. It's the addict identity that is trying to murder them. So my book is a guide on how to defeat the addict identity and live a functional life. It's sold anywhere books are sold, and you can find it on Amazon right now.
Mr. Hyden does have some previous charges for assault as well as a DUI conviction in 2015 in Wisconsin. Likely reasons why he turned his life around and found sobriety, decided to write this book. According to his Facebook page, took him about 4 years to write this book, so it's obviously been a big piece of his life. And you can see in this video here, he's, very active, not sleeping in, showing his sober lifestyle, really advocating for that sober lifestyle. However, in stark contrast, the events of July 4th, 2024 are going to show just how important it is to maintain your sobriety, because just because you get sober doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to stay sober. It's a daily struggle, and it's something that you have to focus on and be mindful about each and every day. Now, unfortunately, we're not sure what happened after he left this physical altercation at the club, but we can safely assume he probably left there, went and possibly drank more, and then found himself in the situation. It's about 8:52 p.m. It's starting to get dark. Might be shooting off fireworks. People are getting excited for the festivities of the 4th of July, when suddenly a silver F-150 driving about 45 miles an hour blows through a stop sign, rolls over a curb, barrels through a fence, and runs over 11 people, killing 3 of them instantly, injuring 8 people.
This surveillance video shows the terrifying moments before a suspected drunk driver plowed through a New York City park filled with families celebrating July 4th. Watch again. The pickup truck zooms past a pedestrian on the sidewalk and blows right through a stop sign. Then you see the sparks fly as the truck crashes into the park, trapping people underneath.
It was like a big boom. Everybody thought it was gunshots, but it wasn't. That's how the impact was.
Once he did that hard right turn, so many people started screaming.
Video from the scene shows the truck partially resting on bleachers, a table flipped over. First responders finding 4 victims pinned under the truck. 59-year-old Lucille Pinckney and her 38-year-old son Herman, both killed, along with another woman in her 40s who has not yet been identified, and an 11-year-old boy among the injured. Diamond Pinckney now mourning the loss of his mother and brother.
I come from a very hard-working family. My mom was like definition of hard worker.
Initially, it was reported that Herman Pinckney, as well as Lucille Pinckney, were both immediately killed upon being hit by the truck. They were pinned underneath the truck between some bleachers as well as the Ford F-150, and they were pronounced dead upon arrival from first responders. A third victim was reported to be seriously injured. Her name was Anna Morell, and unfortunately she did pass away shortly after being taken to the hospital. Another victim named Emily Ruiz was also at that barbecue and was also struck by the vehicle. She was in the hospital for 5 days, who was unresponsive for 5 days, and then was pronounced dead after the 5th day. So 4 victims in this situation. Was this the work of a true psychopath? Was this a targeted attack? Was this family attacked by someone they knew? No. This was a random slaying of multiple family members and friends due to one thing: alcohol.
Authorities say 44-year-old Daniel Hyden of New Jersey was behind the wheel, residents restraining him at the scene until police arrived.
Whit, police say a preliminary investigation shows alcohol was involved in this crash, and WABC reports this driver works as a substance abuse counselor and had previously written a book about living with addiction.
Not only were 4 people killed in this incident, but 7 other people were seriously injured and are in the hospital being treated for their injuries. Most of them are minor injuries, nothing too serious. However, I'd say the biggest injury out of everything is going to be the fact that they lost multiple family members and friends, all in one tragic incident.
A young man whose entire immediate family is now gone.
She was a hard-working woman. She's a single hard-working woman. Raised me and my brother to always do the right thing.
Through his tears, 30-year-old Diamond Pinckney speaks of his 59-year-old mother, Lucille, and 38-year-old big brother, Herman, both of whom were killed Thursday night. The NYPD says just before 9, the driver of this gray pickup drove into a crowd that had gathered inside Collier's Hook Park near Water Street and the FDR on the Lower East Side.
People celebrating this community like every little New York City person, barbecuing, and we have an irresponsible man driving down this block as we're walking at a high rate of speed and runs his F-150 Ford truck through the fence.
People screaming and hollering, and they're under the truck.
The truck hit 11 people. 4 were pinned underneath. 3 of those victims were killed, Lucille and son Herman, and a third person whose identity has yet to be released. Daniel, why did you get behind the wheel? Why would you get behind the wheel, Daniel? On Friday afternoon, authorities arrested 44-year-old Daniel Hyden and charged him with vehicular manslaughter, 8 counts of reckless assault, and driving while intoxicated. Hyden is from Monmouth Junction, New Jersey, in Middlesex County. Fox 5 has learned that Hyden is a wellness advocate and life coach who has written books on sobriety, substance abuse, and the dangers of addiction. He said nothing while being led out of the 7th Precinct, a stark contrast to family members who were waiting outside.
She has a son at home with no mother and no brother. He's home by himself without his mother and his brother. He took 2/3 of his family in one shot.
And that son being referred to less than 24 hours into his grief is asking himself, why?
I don't know how to forgive. But I really hope we can get justice for my brother and my mother.
Definitely.
Andrew, just the emotion there, just from last night and through the walk that you just saw, hearing from the family members that were gathered there. In addition to the charges, Daniel Hyden is also being charged with operating a vehicle without a license. And again, wellness coach, sobriety author. When you talk about the cruelest of ironies in this case, there's none probably more greater than that. And again, the third victim that was killed, police have yet to identify that, but we can tell you she was female.
The main reason I wanted to go over this story was to just show you guys just how serious alcoholism is. For somebody who was a substance abuse counselor, someone who had worked years and years to get sober, and someone who was focused so much on sobriety in order to, they were able to even write a book about it, even they can still relapse. Even the most strong, stable, sober person you know still can relapse, because at the end of the day, all alcoholics, we're all still alcoholics to the end.
Not only was Daniel Hyden drunk, they also point out this man was driving with a suspended license, and tonight he's being held without bail. Daniel Christopher Hyden barely lifted his head during his arraignment. He faces 25 years in prison. Investigators say he tried to evade sobriety tests after the crash by closing his eyes. Thomas Courteau is a friend of the family, and he was in court Saturday morning.
Everyone's devastated. Who thinks on 4th of July you're pretty safe in that area? No one had they didn't have any clue this guy was going to come barreling down Water and Jackson Street drunk like a skunk.
Hyden is accused of killing 59-year-old Lucille Pinckney, her 38-year-old son Herman, and 43-year-old Anna Morale. Hyden is charged with multiple crimes, including vehicular homicide, manslaughter, and driving while intoxicated. According to court documents, when police arrived, Hyden was on the ground next to the truck driver's side door. Investigators say he was bloodied and wearing pants, but no shirt or shoes. And when he stood up, his balance was uneven. These court photos show his bruised face.
From the little street justice he got. He has a fat lip and a swollen eye. And
Might have been when he was yanked out of the truck.
He was trying to get away.
According to authorities, Hyden was also driving with a suspended license when he allegedly crashed into 11 people.
She has a son at home with no mother and no brother. He's home by himself without his mother and his brother. He took 2/3 of his family in one shot.
Prosecutors brought up Hyden's professional history. He's a substance abuse counselor who wrote a book called The Sober Addict, an irony that further enrages victims' families.
We are going to miss her so much. It's just, I just can't come to senses with the news. I just can't. It's just too much.
And Hyden is expected in court on Wednesday. And right now, there are a lot of people who live in the neighborhood who are coming by to put flowers and candles next to the tree where folks were killed right in front of family members. That irony is going to be haunting a lot of people on the Lower East Side. Duarte Geraldino, Fox 5 News.
So I just wanted to share this story because it can truly show the power of just how tragic a relapse could be. You may not relapse and just be able to say, oh, I made a mistake, and then go back to being sober the next day. You may make serious life-altering mistakes that can't be undone. I'm here trying to promote sobriety because I truly believe that alcoholism is one of the most dangerous diseases out there. It's not only dangerous for the person who's suffering, but it's also dangerous to the people around them. And I think this story perfectly exemplifies why alcoholism and relapse can be so truly dangerous. So if you're sober or you're struggling, just think about the possible consequences of your actions. Once you get drunk, it's just so different. Your inhibitions go right out the window. And things like what happened to Mr. Hyden can certainly happen to you, and I would not want that to be the case. 4 people died in this situation because of one man's poor choices. So just remember that the next time you're going out and you think about picking up that next drink. Mr. Hyden is set to be arraigned, and he is going to be standing trial. He's facing multiple charges. He's facing second-degree murder charges. He's facing vehicular manslaughter charges, as well as multiple counts, 8 counts, I believe, of assault charges. Unfortunately for him, he made poor choices. He was not able to maintain his sobriety, and his relapse led to something truly tragic. So the next time that you think you might be okay to handle some alcohol, or you might be okay to relapse, just remember it could end tragically like Mr. Hyden's story did. But I appreciate you guys hanging out, listening to Lucille, Herman, and Anna's story, and hearing about the tragedy that befell Mr. Hyden. Unfortunately, it seems like he was doing so well in his sobriety. He had such drive and was so focused and was truly on the path that he needed to be on, but he let temptation suck him in, and unfortunately it led to what's going to keep him in jail for probably the rest of his life now. I'm going to see if this video does well, and I'm going to try and make it a regular series if it does. So if you enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed the series, if you think that there's other stories you want me to talk about, please leave comments below. Happy to check it out. Super excited about this new series. We're going to call it the Sober Stories series. And we'll go ahead and try and post these on sometime during the week. I'm thinking either Tuesday or Wednesday. But thanks again for tuning in, you guys. I'm DJ Petrovsky. Stay sober, you guys.